You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and this is a Fistful Podcast from FFOPradio.com. Back for another great episode. So let me introduce you to my locum tenens co-host for this episode. He's been on here. This is the first time, so let me introduce him for the first time. The one of three now. You're the first of the third timers as a first timer club. Baked Salmon's back on the show. What's up, man?
I feel awesome. I feel like I'm Chevy Chase on SNL or something, or one of the guys that gets invited multiple times. But I'm sorry that you confused me as a first timer.
I don't know why. I just figured this will be your first time for real now, because we've been it twice before, and each one of those we thought was the first. So maybe it's more like Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day than a Chevy Chase on SNL situation.
There you go. Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Well, I think it's probably just rather than it being I was so forgettable before, I think it's so mind-blowing to have me. Everything else that came before just fades away, and you just...
Agreed. I think that's probably what we're looking at, because I remember, the video stuff clear as day, because that was prolonged and we were both playing parts of a script. Yes. But, playing myself, it was just wiped from my memory, because I was like, oh my God, it's happening again for the first time.
Yes. We should write an 80s song with the very sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, classic, again, Groundhog's Day era.
Yes,
but right. Also, let me introduce Krista over there. She's on the chair.
I am on the chair. I don't like these chairs.
Did not mean to make that rhyme. I love those chairs.
I miss the couch.
Are you usually sitting? Oh, okay. I was going to say, are you usually sitting in a chair? It seems like you're sitting on a couch usually, but
it's a chair that I sit on.
Yeah, we used to have a couch in the studio, but I figured, we're going to start doing video stuff in here more and more. And if you have a guest sitting across from someone on a couch doesn't read as good television.
Yeah.
It doesn't read like if I've already foregoing the desk, because I don't think I should be like a host with obviously for this show, this is what the fuck are we talking about?
I love the desk though. The desk and the couch, like Johnny Carson or something. That's a great look. But
we have two separate things. So rotate this camera 90 degrees and I've got the chairs, but here I've got the desk. So if need be, I could zoom this out and be like, hey, look over there at my guest and be in the same shot, hypothetically.
Yeah. I get why we have the chairs. It's just I can't sit like I usually would on the couch on this chair.
I got you.
We all suffer.
Yeah, we all suffer.
So, boy, oh boy, I have so many things I want to talk to you about, but we have to dive into, first of all, the conspiracy stuff, because we sort of teased it in your last appearance. Yeah. And conspiracy theories I love, because it's like the weirdest and most legitimate form of imagination that people use. Mm-hmm. Like when you're a kid and you make believe and you play pretend, you don't necessarily look for justifications to then like make that belief a reality. But a lot of these things are born out of whole cloth and are backloaded.
Sure.
And if you're okay, so let's start with some of your favorites, and I've got some of mine.
Okay.
So give me one of your top three.
Okay, one of my top three, 9/11 was not, does not, the truth of 9/11 is not the official story.
Okay. So so are we talking maybe there's like a touchstone out there for people. If are we talking along the lines of Loose Change, that documentary from XYZ years ago?
I don't have a problem with Loose Change. I think that's there was a number of videos, documentaries that came out. Like initially when that went down, I was not questioning the official story. I was pissed off that, this happened on our soil and, screw the bastards that caused this to happen. So it took me a while, and it wasn't until the documentary started coming out like 5 or 6 years later that I started, feeling like, well, wait a minute, if that's true, then that doesn't make sense actually. And I think in my early 20s, which was years before 9/11, I was in my 30s at that point. In my early 20s, I was very suspicious of the government, and then 9/11 comes along. I threw that out the window, and I'm like, fuck these bastards that did this on our soil. And
it was incredibly polar. I remember I was young. I don't remember what year of high school I was in, but I just remember that whole day being wasted on just watching the news.
Oh yeah, I was in 7th grade. I was
So
in 7th grade
surreal.
health class when it happened.
I was doing a job for a steward, an airline steward, the day that happened, and I called him to tell him I wasn't going to make it to work that day, and he was in tears. He was like, "No, I understand. I'm not looking to have anybody at my house today, anyways." So he knew people that were, possibly on the plane, and he was pretty tore up about it. So I mean, that was that you're right. That whole day was just like watching the news and just being dumbfounded that
we were in lockdown because I was in Connecticut, so we're right next to New York, and my old middle school was used to be used as a bomb shelter back in the whatever war. So it was super concrete, it was the windows were so tiny, and we were in lockdown, and there was a friend that I had that got taken out of my class, and she never came back. Her dad was in the tower, one of the towers, and she never came back to school after that. I don't know where she went, but she never came back.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's deep. That's deep. So, I mean, it's as shocking as it all was, when people started questioning it, that was ticking me off. That, I always kind of don't like movie stars when they're not in their movies. It's like, make your films, you're good at it, I like that. But when they start getting political, it really bothers me. Or if they start shaming general public, for their beliefs or something. So when Charlie Sheen started saying, that you got to question 9/11 and stuff, I was like, screw you, dude, screw all of you. And once I eventually I came around to saying, yeah, we should probably question this, but it took me a while to get there. But actually it all snowballed after that. I mean, I started watching all kinds of shit, and second guessing the official story of stuff. But I have specifics, but you can ask me if you want to know the specifics.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's something about all of these that is compelling and that gives them legs. So yeah, if I do want to know what made you, or not what made you, or what sold you on this idea.
Okay, I guess one of the biggest ones, and I did kind of take some notes here so I wouldn't forget. But the fact that the buildings fell straight down and their debris was cleaned up in record time, which kind of ties into when the Pentagon was hit, and the FBI arrived and made it a federal crime scene. There's all these randos out there collecting debris and stuff, and that blows my mind. So I mean, it felt to me like that was a very good argument. Like, why is this crime scene, these buildings that fell down, why are they cleaning this shit up and sending it off to China or whatever without really investigating what the hell happened? It seemed, they cleaned that area up in weeks. That's blew my mind. So,
well, I wonder, because that makes you think of a whole bunch of different stuff, because the age of the buildings, they could have been worried about a number of different things. And on top of that,
asbestos.
maybe asbestos, but on top of that, all that just raw material and stuff just out in the open. And beyond that, even the level that is even more morbid is the bodies, the biological material under all that shit. You can't fuck around.
Yeah.
They if it was just a building that fell down, I'd be like, oh, well, fuck. All the factory workers went home, it fell down. They go, well, we got months to clean it up because whatever. Who gives a fuck, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
yeah, I could see that. But it does seem like it was just accelerated, and that there wasn't enough, or at least we weren't let in on enough of what was, being decided or what fines were being made or whatever. And I sent you a photo earlier of my license plate that I had for a few years. It said Building 7 was the, what do you call it? The vanity plate, Building 7.
Yeah.
And it was on a American flag license plate that says "We will never forget."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you."
So I'm not. It wasn't. I mean, that would make it appear that I'm way more hardcore than I am. But that I like the idea of getting under people's skin with something like that. So I had on the back of my car, and I actually made it onto Reddit. Before that, I never even used Reddit, but my brother did, and he sent me a text message one day. I don't say maybe, I don't know, 8-10 years ago. And he said, dude, you made it onto Reddit. And, and somebody had taken a photo of the back of my car and, with the title, like, I wonder what else this guy buys into or something like that.
That's hilarious.
And so I actually went on there, like made a Reddit account and said, that's my car. Ask me anything. I got a few hits, people asking me what I believe in and stuff. But, so on the back of the car, it said, Building 7 on the license plate. I had a bumper sticker that said 9/11 was an inside job, and then I had another bumper sticker that said "Remember Waco." And,
my god, yeah, you're one of these dudes, and not only dudes, but ladies love to do it too. But like the social agitator that the flavor that I like, because you can be the type of social agitator who's like that in your face, like I can't believe you, blah 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 blah. And then there's like the low hum, like semi-low effort agitator, like you, that's harmless but gets people thinking at least.
Yes,
I think that's fucking hilarious.
I had I think twice when somebody on the road, like maybe at a red light, would say "Right on, brother," and like point to the back of my car. And then I had one time when we were at the zoo in San Diego, and someone who looked like they were probably military or ex-military. Was really pissed off, and I can't remember what words he used, but it was basically along the lines of, you think this is a fucking joke or something like that, and just walked on with his family. And I'm like, whoa, easy, dude.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We live on a planet where every all and sundry exists. So like, I get that all theories and ideas are basically valid because they're all valueless because everything is supposed to be important. So that's the thing. I don't want to ever, like when I was picking apart your argument about how they cleaned it up earlier, I don't ever want to say that I'm dissuading anybody from your argument, but it is interesting to see what people latch on to. Yeah. So like, let's for one of my favorites, I guess, that's sort of vintage and I don't actually buy, revolves around true crime. And it's the Jack the Ripper Royal Conspiracy.
Okay.
So if you're not familiar, the Royal Conspiracy, the conspiracy goes that Prince Edward was having an affair with a prostitute. One thing led to another. You got to protect the royal bloodline and yada yada, stiff upper lip and English bullshit. So we got to take out these women who know about the affair. So they send out William Gull, the 70-something-year-old, like, palsied surgeon of Queen Victoria at the time or whatever, to go out and kill these women. And even though it's wildly crazy and it's impossible geologically and also physically, because as before mentioned, the guy was 70-something, had either palsy or a stroke and could not work most or half of his body. But there are enough clues left to at least indicate that someone of medical skill. So there's always that plausible deniability. And we also got a nice comic book and semi-nice movie out of it with Johnny Depp in the news recently.
Now, is let's see. Now, that happened when? Late 1800s?
It was 1888 and 1889.
Okay. And was this proposed back then, or was that something that came on more recently where people said, hey, wait a minute here?
It's one of those things where it's in the middle of the timeline because Jack the Ripper's conspiracy still stretched to this day. Every day is basically a new one.
Right.
So it's kind of like that. in terms of like vintage throwback, it's like the 80s retro sort of thing. Like it's in the middle of all the weirdness. But that's the thing. There's some evidence of everything on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and absolutely, if you go looking for something, you'll find it. There's that idea too. So.
Yeah, which is great, but that's why a lot of this exists, because it doesn't take much to win you over, because you don't know what will, and what does is always seemingly insignificant.
Right. Yeah.
So give me another one of yours.
Okay. Now regarding 9/11 or another different theory altogether.
A different theory.
Okay, different conspiracy altogether would be the moon landing. That I don't believe we ever went to the moon. And
okay, so what made you buy into this one?
There's two things that I think say a lot, and what they say, I guess, is up for debate. I think they say a lot. Why haven't we been back? Is one of them. It seems like we put a lot of effort into going there. Why not go back? Why is it not like a normal? Why are we building space stations if you got the moon? You got strong ground, I guess, a firm ground to build shit on. And then the other thing is that rickety ass looking lunar lander that was able to land on the moon, and then not only that, like take off from the moon and then reconnect with a ship hurtling around the moon. It doesn't seem plausible to me. So the diverging shadows and stuff, I don't buy into that. The fact that you can't see stars in the photos is a big one, and it seems like, okay, well, if you got bright enough lights, like the sun, you're not going to see the stars up in the sky. So I'm not going to buy into that. When they tried to recreate the slow motion running, it didn't really look the same as the moon.
Right.
Walking. So there's a lot of stuff that people use. The waving flag, I can't really explain that. It does look like wind blowing it, but at the same time, they say, no, it's got some inertia and there's nothing to stop it from, moving back and forth. So, okay, maybe that could be true. But those two things right there, the fact we haven't been back, and then that rickety ass lander just does not look
right.
And his voice when he's landing does not sound concerned at all. Like he sounds very calm. And if there was all this thrust in that machinery landing them on the moon, why don't we hear that in the recording of him saying, okay, the Eagle has landed or whatever? Like, I don't know. So that it seems super fishy, and I don't believe that we ever went to the moon. And I understand the reason why we would lie about it.
Yeah, because the whole like Cold War thing and the race, and like it was a decades long dick measuring contest essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But so like, okay, I'm willing to buy like it was all a big whoop-de shit. Like who cares? And like whether we were there or not, here's the thing about the realistic value of it is not very valuable. Like, because the moon has no atmosphere. It doesn't have really any strategic value because it takes a fuck ton of energy to get back and forth.
Which would make sense if they would say that. I don't ever hear that. So yeah, I
just think that it's like it's all blown out to like bureaucracy, because if you can't justify like when like again during the space race and we're looking so hard to beat the Russians, and it's ratings and it's backed by the American public and everybody goes, yeah, to the moon. And then we go to space so often and everybody goes, oh, fuck, boring. And then we change the channel. It's interesting now that the space race is starting to ramp up again, but with private companies.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I think that's fucking insane. I want to hear why you think it's great, because I'm going to tell you why I think it's fucking insane. Because we were meant to, like, we co-evolved, we arose mutually on this planet and its environment. And to think that we can take a little bit of a pickle jar, essentially, on or a little tube, and shoot ourselves into space, which is nothing but like radiation bombardment 24/7, which isn't a thing because there's no, like, it just seems. I get why people want to go do it, because humans want to look at shit and go explore. However, it just seems crazy to me that people would want to like basically put their ass on the line to feel 0 G's.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Here's my response to that. Why do I think it's great? It's great because it's not my tax dollars doing it. So if Elon Musk wants to do it, I'm all for it. Virgin Airlines or whatever, that guy wants to spend his money to go up there, fantastic. And plus, I think space is rad. So if we can get, anytime I could see more footage or, camera shots or whatever from a telescope or, not a telescope, a satellite or something, or some, rocket that's been fired off outside our solar system, I think it's bitching. So I'm all for that. And I would much rather the tax dollars don't go to it unless there was some, benefit to me, which I don't see that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think space exploration and all that shit is rad too, because it makes the world go round literally. Like it's people are employed by looking up, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Look at Trung.
Right, Trung. He's an astrophysicist or whatever the fuck he is. But I think that it's trying to get there. Personally, I think is a little foolish when we can really beef up our telescope technology and or imaging software and or computational photography to really just map out everything we can see, because at our current technological standing anyway, getting anywhere of distance of value in a human lifespan is completely unachievable right now.
I got you.
We can't get past what cameras can see. Let's say you want to throw a telescope out there or a satellite on a whatever. I get that, but it just seems needlessly dangerous with what limited whatever. Our suits, fine, we can make stuff that'll block out all the radiation, but our engines are essentially just giant firecrackers that are burning fuel,
right? And
is incredibly slow.
Yeah,
and dangerous and volatile. I remember an audio book I listened to, allegedly written by a physicist, and
allegedly,
and I can't think of what the name of the book was, but he goes through and he talks about things that you see in the movies and how they're not possible. So one example is Independence Day, this enormous spaceship that hovers over Washington D.C., and he points out that just the mass of that would fuck with our tides and shit. You couldn't have something like that pushing down on the earth with whatever's holding it up or something in the technology that we understand. But he does talk about how a trip to Mars is definitely not possible with technology that we have because of the firecracker syndrome that you're mentioning, and that the amount of fuel that you would need to launch something to make it there, you would be putting this gigantic bomb into our atmosphere that you're hoping doesn't explode, because if it does, we're all fucked.
That's what I'm saying. If that's another reason I think that space travel and the moon in particular, we got up there great, and whether we did or didn't, we got to wave our American dicks and Russian faces and go woohoo.
That I'm all for.
It served its purpose, but going back there logistically is just it's a fuck ton of fuel, and not only that, but to go up there and then I guess do what? The space station, even that is kind of, as a layperson, you go, what are you guys doing up there? Right? And we see
out.
People on, we see the videos on Twitter or whatever of them hugging, the to show, peace for the war going on or whatever. But the average fuck like yours truly goes, what the fuck are they doing up there?
Playing checkers.
It's all right. Yeah.
I'm not against it. I'm pro anything that anybody wants to do that doesn't end in human suffering as its goal. But, by and large, math isn't a thing I use on a daily basis. So space is way beyond my ass.
I mean, I like space. I like pictures and shit. The stuff Trung talks about is interesting with black holes. But
all the theoretical stuff. Here's the thing: when I'll get fucking locked in left, right, up, down, and center as soon as we get either replicators or the holodeck. Then I'm on board to the tune of $1 billion, even if it's just a fucking toaster, big holodeck square on a firecracker. Still, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah, that same author, I think it's the same guy that wrote the Science of Star Trek or something like that, or Beyond Star Trek or something, where he discusses how the various things, if we had them, would work, like a holodeck. If we had such a thing, how would we do that? What would be what would go into making something like that happen? And so I remember that book being very interesting too. So maybe you could get into that one if you ever find it.
I think I've got, this is wildly off topic of conspiracies, but I've got basically the owner's manual of the D, I think.
The D class?
The Enterprise D, 1701,
Okay.
whatever D. I think I've got the owner and operator's manual on my bookshelf. So,
fiction, dude.
Yeah, I love Star Trek.
Yeah, nice.
TNG. The TOS,
I don't like Kirk. I don't like William Shatner. Anyway, what I was saying is I like space, but there are other things that I feel like we as humans should be focusing on, like where we live.
We're talking about conspiracy still.
I know, but I was trying to finish my sentence and you interrupted me.
That's the show. Welcome to it.
I get to be a jerk. Carte blanche.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you though. I mean, I like I said before, if we're gonna spend tax money on stuff, let's better humanity. If a private business wants to, sell tickets to fly up to the moon or something, I'm all for it. Go for it.
I'll watch it on TV.
I don't know. I've got a personal conspiracy that society isn't real, but
Well, I think we talked about or mentioned it last time. There's that religion, the Last Tuesday religion. Or like, everything that we know of is created last Tuesday, and prove me wrong or something.
Here's where it gets like dicey, because like I don't mind getting cornered by an agitated uncle at a social function or an over exuberant friend or whatever. But there are some of them out there that are just like wicked stupid and also like dangerous, because like they're the type of conspiracy theory that to believe it, you would have to be capable of like stupid violence.
Now, are we talking about JFK? Because that's stupid violence, or what kind do you mean?
I mean, like, where like, so let's say the reptilian theory. Everybody knows that.
Right. I love that, dude.
There are reptilians supposedly implanted in high places, banking, government, etc.
Right.
And they're manipulating, and like, that is the type of shit that it's like with JFK or the moon landing. It's stuff that is historical events that were big, but then all of these sort of grew in hindsight.
Okay.
The ones that are active currently are the ones that are scary, because those are the ones that people can act upon. Like JFK and everybody who could have killed him are dead.
Okay.
Right.
But crazy people who think that they're reptiles using holograms or whatever form of camouflage can get wild ideas because they're still alive. And if you're afraid of them, you don't want them to be.
Yeah, I got you. What you're saying is that those people are unpredictable, and and we need to keep them under wraps, because if they're able to believe in that, what else are they capable of? And I can see your point there. I do love watching a video on look at all these examples of where this shapeshifter almost lost it. Their eye became a reptile eye, or their tongue is flicking an awful lot for a human. And I love that stuff. I could watch it 24/7. I think it's awesome. I love that people find it.
Well, yeah, the fact that like we have not seen a lot of that surface since the abolition of tape media.
Yeah.
Like now we see a bunch of digital glitching, and even that's going away. So even that is dying. But that's the beauty about some of these conspiracies too, is like all they need is time and the marching forward of technology to get completely obliterated.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where you stand on ghosts, but when we did not, like, let's say when it took 2.5 minutes to capture someone on film, nobody was catching ghosts on film. So I got that. Now that everybody's got a camera in their pocket, and not only that, we've got several TV shows and or television networks and or YouTube channels dedicated to documenting something that's still inconclusive. What's up with that? Yeah. Right?
Along those lines, what you said about tape media, have you ever seen, and I only ever seen it, I've only ever seen it on a Japanese documentary, the footage of Kennedy getting shot by his driver.
No.
With the driver's arm going over his shoulder with a pistol and shooting Kennedy from the driver's seat.
What?
I will find that for you and share it on the Discord because it's so incredible, dude. But it's so clearly an anomaly in the film. It's just, it's because it's video and there's all these striations or whatever in the video. It's like a glitch where it very clearly does look like a gun going back over his shoulder and shooting Kennedy. It's brilliant, but nuts. If you watch the whole video and you're looking for that part, you see it happen several times. So you can tell that it's just some glitch or some anomaly in the way the video was recorded or something. But at the same time, if you're willing to buy into it, it looks exactly like the driver is putting a gun over his shoulder at Kennedy.
That's the thing. If you're willing, any amount will do. Like, you're on the edge of that diving board just waiting for your dad to get pissed and give you the old boot. And it doesn't take much. But that's part of it, too, is like, if you are a type of person to be suspicious or to be always looking for under rocks and stuff, then you're gonna find it. As long as you can admit that to yourself, then you're probably okay. Because then you're gonna go into one of the maybe the more benign of the two species, sort of the ones that doesn't. I mean, because what can you do if 9/11 was or wasn't? Moon landing, yes or no? JFK, yes or no? This, that, or the other. We say, whoa, who killed Martin Luther King? Or maybe, the aliens built the pyramids. Fine. I love all that shit because there's nothing you can do now to like strike out at somebody who doesn't or is still building a pyramid with an alien spaceship.
Right. Yeah, no, that I see there is some, there's a safety net there that at least it's behind us. And, but there's also that stepping off point where it's like, okay, well, if that was true, then now this thing that's happening today may be true. So I guess there's some connection there between being crazy about something that happened a long time ago and remaining crazy for something happening today.
Conspiracies live off of the if-then logic because they say, well, if that's true, then, and it all hinges like, so that old cartoon gag where like, I think maybe it was on Tom and Jerry where he's using the same two planks to build a bridge across a canyon.
Yeah.
And doesn't realize that gravity will kick in. Like, that's what this feels like. That if is very non-corporeal to me. And so all these people are going out on these bridges.
I see.
But that's the thing.
That's such a good analogy, by the way. Well done.
It just lends itself to me because when you say if, then, and if that, then, so if then, so it's board and nail. But if that first board and nail don't actually exist, you're out in the fucking Grand Canyon. But that's the thing about it is like, even the ones that do persist, the old ones, because, like, let's say the ancient aliens and the pyramids, then you can say, well, if that, blah, 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 then here we are today living with alien DNA and or yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But then there we are.
Zacharias Sitchin. You know who that is?
No.
Okay, Zacharias Sitchin, he allegedly translated all these ancient texts and proved that, in his mind and to people that believe him, that there was this additional planet beyond our solar system that at one point had crashed into Earth. And when the Bible speaks of the Nephilim, about these angels, that they're actually talking about these alien creatures that, lived on Earth and created humans from alien DNA and ape DNA and stuff. But he uses these ancient texts to prove that sort of a storyline. I love that stuff. I think that's brilliant. But it all falls apart when you realize that he wasn't an expert on that ancient language. So who is he to tell us what it said? But when you're first getting turned on to it and you're like, holy shit, did it say that in those texts? But then you find out he didn't have a PhD in this ancient language or anything. He's just some dude, but he did a good job at it. Well
yeah,
done.
it comes down to good storytelling. That's why L. Ron Hubbard still lives on through Scientology today. If you are at least a competent storyteller, and that's the best thing I could say about L. Ron. He was a competent storyteller. All you have to be is a competent storyteller, and voila, you can get people on board. Like the Heaven's Gate cult started out as 2 people.
Yeah.
But so touching back on the biblical conspiracy theories a little bit too, because you bring that up, that does hold a lot of fascination for me, because a lot of the far out theories about this is that angels were visitations by aliens because of how they were described. Like we don't see humans with wings or naked babies with wings as angels until medieval times. What we get in whatever translation you do or not want to believe is these revolving discs, and they have 6 wings, and like they're just a nothing but eyes and a gleaming brilliance. Like they're not fucking, it's not the angel Moroni in a bathrobe coming down like fucking with wings that are like doves with feathers and shit. They were like freaky, weird experiences.
Sure. Yeah, no, that stuff's great, and actually, Sitchin gets into a lot of that with the the rotating fiery wheel in the sky, and the exact descriptions that you're giving of like these horrific, terrifying situations, and how they related to UFOs or flying ships or something.
But here's where everything sort of falls apart. When you start to lean on it, does it hold your weight? And here's where this one falls apart for me. A story can get fucked up from one person to a third person if the second person misunderstands and passes it along. The popular version of the Bible and or the Torah and or the whatever you want to look at has been handed down, swapped up by this, changed by that, context is gone, bingo. So where did this description come from, and how faithfully was it captured, and is it the oldest, yada, yada, yada? Because just because someone wrote something down doesn't mean jack shit. Like when the internet was new, if it was on the internet, it was true. But before then, if someone put it in a book, it was true.
Sure.
Right.
And before that, if anyone could write anything and they got it on anything, it was true.
Right. Yeah. No, that's which that facet of truth and human nature that when you're limited to the technology that you have at the time, and it could be cave painting, and it could be carving or putting triangles on clay tablets or whatever. Whatever you're limited to, that becomes your source of reality, I guess, your focus. And so what your point is completely valid, that even though now today we have the internet and everything, we're the internet of yesterday was clay tablets and shit.
Yeah.
And that's what you had to go by. So
and
it became truth for you. Yeah.
Here's something else that also escapes human observation because it's a human trait and we don't look at ourselves. No matter how objective we claim to be, that's bullshit. Anything written down was done with a purpose in mind by the writer.
Sure.
So that's the thing. I don't think that, and beyond that, since language, spoken, written, or otherwise, is highly fallible, it can be taken a million different ways.
Well, it's probably why we don't have the tales of teen Jesus, right? Because he probably got up to some shit that wouldn't look too good in the rest of the story. So
I brought this up to you on the maybe it was the last show where Jesus, during that broken period in the Bible, visited Japan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember you told me about that.
So that's the thing too. There's another biblical conspiracy that says during the time where no one was writing about Jesus, and P.S., like, what the fuck? All of this stuff was written 200 years after he was dead, but whatever. Skipping past that. They're like, okay, from, let's say, 12 to 30, he went to Japan, he went to the UK, and he went to India. And this is backed up contextually with, era-appropriate documentation.
Okay.
Going so far as that little town in Japan has fucking Jesus's grave, because after the crucifixion, they actually paid some other dude to take his place, a martyr or whatever, someone willing. and he ran off to Japan, and that's why he's buried there with you.
That's great, man. I do have to get up there and see that and take photos for you.
I would love it. It's so wild. But so here's the thing. I'm not going to ever say like don't believe what you want to don't or do believe.
Right.
But here's how much you should let it affect your life, whether it was true or not, whether like that thought experiment we all did.
Right.
Doesn't change anything.
No.
Because one of my favorite go-tos is like that the government is keeping alien technology from us from as far back as Area 51, but up until God knows whatever, because there's always lights in the sky.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. People are greedy and they love money. And if anybody can smuggle, sneak out, make a penny on literally any of that shit, you better fucking believe we'd have it. And we can't even prove that we don't. Prove to me that my cell phone is an alien technology that uses magic.
Right.
I'm told it's cell towers and radio waves and shit, but I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Like that could be the conspiracy theory.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that. It's there's a lot of stuff that if people would just think a little bit, just a hair deeper about it, they would see that it doesn't really make sense. The Illuminati, we didn't mention. The Illuminati's one like that, where it's like if you just think a little bit deeper, you realize that it doesn't make sense that that stuff would be run by one group of people.
You just have to apply even like the most basic of like human behavior to any situation. Mm-hmm. Like, let's say, because like if you want to be conspiracy theory, like the secret underground cabal of like, let's say the 7 bankers that run everything, right? Or let's just say there's one dude at the center of it all, right? But nobody knows who he is, but he's somehow secretly pulling the strings. Whether he's there or not, doesn't matter. I'm going to compare him to someone who actually did almost pull all the strings everywhere, Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, he was overtly running around slaughtering people to the same end that this mystery shadow figure is doing without killing literally anybody, hypothetically.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Even as a child, all of these conspiracy theories that led to...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, a Rothschild, Rockefellers. But all of the conspiracy theories that end in like power and lineage always seemed fleeting to me, because even as a child, I recognized, okay, presidents, they only last for so long. Dictators will eventually die. Everybody who has ever owned anything has died off. There was one guy who owned the entire known planet at the time is dead.
Right.
So
what good is it? What you're in with the elite. What good is it overall? And that's my point on why I don't believe that it's an ongoing thing, that there's this group of people that continue to rule the earth secretly, because you know what? Even if there was a group that started like that, eventually they're going to, fuck this. I'm going to go live my life because I'm going to die and I'm not going to get any of this shit in the future. So what? We don't need to worry about
at some point, like
chips and stuff. Yeah.
At some point you have to realize there's diminishing returns. Let's say you are that person who's so power hungry, you want to control everything, but then you realize you are now nothing.
Yeah.
You are the sum total of your neuroses, and you have all this money and power and yada, 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 but then it serves one end.
And you can't enjoy it because nobody can know who you are. So be quiet about it.
Yeah, and even if you want to say that they're a known figure, like whoever the real public figure, whatever, like a Greenspan, someone, there's conspiracy theories about everybody who's big, but that's the thing. Let's say it's all true. Everybody's corrupt and we're all crazy, and not even your mother is your mother because she's an alien and you're an alien and we don't even know it. And fuck, money isn't real and the pyramids were built by aliens and now they want them back and they actually is a late fee because we've over fucking kept them. Whatever. The thing is, when the rubber meets the road, how does that change your day-to-day life?
Right. Yeah. No.
It makes you more interesting at a cocktail party, I'll grant you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives you something to talk about. There's I wish I could remember the name of this documentary that I watched. That it was like Zeitgeist or something. It's along those lines where it delved into where banking came from and stuff like that, and where we are today. But it got pretty dark, with what the goals are with the Illuminati or the whatever, the upper echelon, the Rosicrucians or whatever. But at the end of it, what I did appreciate is at the end of the documentary, it was like, so what now? So now that you know this, what do you do with it? And it said, just be a good person. Just live your life as best as you can and take care of your family or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, makes sense. There you go. That's, no matter what, I can't do anything to change it.
Because here's what we overlook too, is like there are legitimate conspiracies going on. Like there are people right now embezzling money. There are people right now plotting a murder. There are people right now planning to go out and score some drugs. No matter how small or how large the conspiracy, they're happening all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to me that we all pick our poison. So I get that. It's kind of like if you're a true crime fan, it's the same thing. If you're a book nerd or a movie nerd, we're all going to have our favorite flavor of shit.
Yeah.
But I think what it all comes down to is like, how much of it do you want to invest in? And also, like, what do you get out of it if you win? Well, we love to fight. Mm-hmm. My question is, what do you get if you win?
Sure.
Well, it's all a game.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense to me. What's in it for me, I guess, if I'm going to buy into something?
I'm going to give you the granddaddy of all conspiracy theories, because I watched a video on the conspiracy iceberg.
Okay.
And the different levels, and this is the top one. So this conspiracy is that no conspiracy theory is real. They're all a conspiracy just to make money. That's it. That's the root of it all. Every conspiracy, bar none, is simply in effort to make money.
I love it.
And has never been real.
I love it. I think that sounds pretty cool. Screw those people, but I can see that being true. That sounds more closely believable, to what we know about human nature and stuff.
Yeah, and so like when you take it down to the root like that, then you can start pruning the tree really easy, because it's kind of like, and this is where it's going to be kind of like a game of chicken, because as you trade conspiracy theories, you're going to want to do what I just did, where you're going to drop that all conspiracies are just conspiracies, and that's the main conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it's like saying something times infinity. And it'll maybe that, if nothing else, this show will give you a couple of ideas for when someone gets you in a room talking about conspiracies with onion and tuna breath. You say, okay, you're right. Now what? And if they do have a plan, you go, oh, fuck. Well, now I've got a conspiracy theory, and you go times infinity, and you run before their head explodes.
Yeah. Black, no tags back. Ah, fuck, you got it. I can't do anything now. And the floor is lava, so good luck catching me.
Yeah, I got an everything proof shield. Oh yeah.
Well,
and that's why I hope everybody keeps theirs, because they're fun, and without making reality a little hazy.
Yeah.
What's the point of it?
Yeah.
I desperately want to believe that the earth is hollow, and that I'll take either one of these legitimately, because there are a ton of cultures that say that they came up from the earth instead of upon it or from above it.
Right.
Lots of Central and South American cultures, some European. Yeah. If you popped near a cave and had a brain at the same time to notice it, bingo, we tied the two together. So I'll take, some sort of degenerate human or some albinism or whatever. They've got claws or hair or whatever. I'll take that. Or on the flip side of that, I'll take hell being real, and that someone lowering that proverbial microphone down the 7 miles, that hole, and we hear a bunch of yelling and screaming and gnashing of teeth.
Can you imagine?
I secretly hope for either one of those to be true, even though logically I know it is completely ridiculous.
Oh, man. Unfortunate, but yeah, you're right. That would be epic. I love the hollow earth idea too. I think it's pretty neat. I like Journey to the Center of the Earth. That sort of thing is.
It's
is
so
really
much
cool.
more fun than a flat Earth.
Yeah, and speaking of flat Earth, I want to give a shout out to the flat Earth community because I don't buy into any of it, but I love the live streams. I love the thought process, and I love that people are still vigilant in trying to prove that the Earth is flat, even though I don't believe it. I love their arguments. So when someone says, well, what about the moon? How can you explain the moon? Well, they have an explanation for that. How can you explain, like the idea that when you travel to the Arctic or the Antarctic, you're just hitting that outer edge of the flat Earth. I think that's brilliant that somebody even came up with that as an explanation. And still, when I'm on a plane or something, I'll look out the window and I'll say, why does the horizon look so flat? Like, I just think it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and I don't have to buy into it to enjoy it. I think it's great.
No,
I don't like that people get so vehemently anti-flat Earth. It's like, let them do their thing, man. Don't hate on them so much. I'm not bothering you.
No, I get it. And that's why I can't really pick them apart as far as like what they want to believe in.
Right.
Like, but again, you put a little weight on it. Like, it would have to be so big as to encompass literally 99% of the planet, but whatever.
Right.
The flat planet. And also, like, it just seems like, when you have a ball of shit that you can go through, then you can have fun stuff like that. The magnetic molten core that is hypothesized, or hell, or an underground civilization, or Brendan Fraser falling for 35 minutes until his throat is hoarse from the screaming.
I love that, dude. Oh, that's cool, man. I like that stuff. I guess, if there was one other conspiracy, not conspiracy, I guess a story or a video that I appreciated that was tough to buy into is that that the dinosaurs didn't die out a million billion years ago, whatever, that it was more like a few hundred years ago. Have you ever seen anything about that? And that's so stories that you have of like, knights fighting dragons were actually still dinosaurs that existed. I love that stuff. And the Loch Ness Monster, the idea that there's still dinosaurs on Earth, or that they didn't die off that long ago, I think is a fun thing.
Yeah, no, that still persists. I love all of it. It's all like, it's akin to Bigfoot.
Yes.
But the fact that there is still, murmurings of an African sauropod running around. We've got multiple sea monsters, from like your plesiosaur body type to your giant eel to your whatever. We've got the Thunderbird, which now thank God the Quetzalcoatlus was discovered, because now we can backpedal and find that somebody who, witnessed a big shadow and was scared by it can now say it was one of these things instead of a Thunderbird or whatever. Oh,
dude, the Thunderbird's great too. Do you know where we haven't mentioned UFOs, but you know where Gila Bend is? Likely.
Like here in Arizona, Gila Bend?
Yeah, Gila Bend. Exactly.
Yeah.
Driving through Gila Bend, my son and I saw a UFO, and we stopped and got off the road and watched it. Now, here's the saddest thing. Neither of us had our phones in any way to film it. So it's only him and I and our story. Oh, yeah, totally. Between him and I. But I'll tell you what, I'm so fucking thankful that I was with him, because otherwise, then what would I have? Just this, alleged story that I probably eventually would start to question whether I saw it at all. But he was with me. So at least between us, we have this, additional bond of like, do you remember that UFO? And I've talked to him since then, because this was about, I want to say 10 years ago that this happened, that we saw it. His story and my story have begun to change. So he remembers it differently than me. So it's pretty wild. But I just thought I'd mention that. UFOs is another conspiracy laden, facet of, this show or whatever, that, this discussion that we're having. And I saw one in Arizona with my son, but I have no proof of it. Zero proof. Well,
here's the thing. I will grant you UFOs are a thing. There are flying objects that go unidentified all the time. But the problem with that is all of these sightings are, like, by and large, the majority of these sightings, whether we're going to go historical and or modern day, often take place around one of the many air bases that Arizona has a fuck ton of.
Right. And that's based on what we saw. I'm convinced it was military. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'll tell you what we saw, if I can derail our
by all means,
even more. What we saw, it went overhead. We drove under a bridge on the highway. We were on the 8 heading east. We're going to New Mexico. Mm. When I caught a glimpse of it between the bridges that we were going under, it had landed on a side road, and it was boomerang shaped, or V shaped. Mm. I recall it landing in such a way that the V was pointing upwards. I think my son remembered it differently.
Huh.
We got off the freeway right there, and the off-ramp went up higher than the highway quite a bit. So I was probably at this point 50 feet above the highway or something. And we're looking across the freeway at a couple of hotels. And this V-shaped object was flying around the hotel at this point. Like after I'd seen it land, it was flying around the hotel. It was about eye level with us. And it was doing it was sort of dive bombing a neighborhood nearby. And so that was making me think, dude, whatever's controlling this, if that thing crashes, it's taking out some houses. And the size of it wasn't huge. So it was probably, remote control drone sort of thing. But it was like if it had people in it, it would have only fit like 2 people nuts to butts kind of thing. It was very small. But we watched it go around this hotel. It dive bombed the neighborhood, and then it went up in the sky, and it just started heading across the desert. And we got back on the freeway, and we followed it for, I don't know, I want to say a few miles, and then it went over some mountains and took off. So it was like, if it was remote control, which it likely was, it had a shit ton of battery power. It was, it had to be heavy enough. So you would think that the amount of power it needed to keep it up in the air, it had a great batteries, whatever was in it. And so I wanted to describe it to you because it legit was something. It wasn't like a light far in the sky that was doing right angle turns. It was something we could see eye level.
Yeah, you saw a physical object.
Yeah, across the highway from us, and we sat and watched it for a few minutes. And
that is crazy.
And I actually was so affected by that event that a couple years later I had a wild hair and I drove back to those hotels, which I lived in San Diego, so it was a couple hour drive for me to go back there.
Yeah.
I went back to those hotels at night and asked at the 2 hotels in the lobby if anybody remembered that story or if that was something that people discussed, and nobody could verify it with me. So, I look like a nutcase.
They were all
Talk
sworn
to you
to
later.
secrecy.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to sound crazy, but here's a crazy story.
Yeah. So that I will die telling you that actually happened, and unfortunately, no footage. But I don't have my son to verify it with me.
I can believe something like that because you're not telling me anything supernatural or unnatural or anything outside of what I would expect from a human fucking around with some piece of technology.
Right, yeah.
But you bring up an interesting point is that humans are unreliable capture devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He and I, our stories don't jive with one another, and that's strange to me, but I believe, that's the way it goes.
Well, yeah, because what happens is when you break it down, and if you want to believe the neuroscience of it all, after that initial impression, you're remembering the last time you remembered that thing.
Sure.
So you're seeing a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. That's why rose-tinted glasses takes effect, because the finer, harsher details slowly get scrubbed from the memory as it's run through that copier.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like, you have to take into account the fallibility of humans everywhere. And that's why I'm also a little surprised that conspiracies are so popular.
Yeah.
Because, if you're supposed to be impressing upon me that I am supposed to believe your narrative because the other one is faulty, on what grounds are we talking? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, because human recollection is shit. And, just because you're really passionate about it. And that's why I think most of us go for it, is because we love good stories. And if someone is crazy, but is also the lightning in a bottle that happens more and more frequently, you're just a good storyteller. Bingo.
Yeah, it's enough.
And that's why, maybe that's why cults and conspiracies, I feel, are like kind of kissing cousins, because conspiracies are decentralized ideas that are picked up by charismatic figures, whereas cults are that personified into one person.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look at David Koresh. I totally get what you're saying.
And that's why I think conspiracy theories are the cult leaders of ideas. Mm-hmm. And that's why we'll never see an end of them. It would be like, hey, now we're going to wipe out people who are left-handed. There will always be more born. Like, you're always going to have things appearing naturally to fill niches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I because you want to, oh God, I can feel it still in the pit of my stomach. You want to get up and be like, all of these are fucking ridiculous. Keeping in mind that you're not looking at the 3 or 4 or 5 or 1 or 2 or 20 that you believe in, that you keep stuck in a bag behind your back. So out of sight, out of mind, as you condemn the others.
Well, here's, I was thinking when you were mentioning, the fallibility of memory and our ability to recall things that, we believe are true. I think about this when you're doing the true crime shows, like the fellow that you had on last time. You've had him on before. Brilliant. Always a fantastic guest. I can't think of his name. He's great.
Alan Gotro.
Okay, there you go. That guy's amazing. You guys together are wonderful to watch and to listen to. That. Yeah. But something that always comes to my mind is that when you're talking about, and I think you guys touch on it, is when you're talking about witnesses to crimes, you're relying on this person's, what they believe they saw, and you just never know. So especially when you're talking true crime, the police are talking to witnesses, and you see experiments done. I'm sure you've seen them before, like on science shows and stuff, where somebody comes by and they steal a purse, and it's all set up to see what people remember, and they start asking people in the crowd, "What did you see?" And I think it was a black guy, or I think he was a short white guy, overweight and stuff. And it's like they have all these different memories of what happened, but they're positive that that's what happened. So it's pretty amazing to look at conspiracies and particularly like true crime and stuff through that with that angle, that realizing that humans, we just can't remember shit as well as we think we can.
It's a weird and sometimes dangerous combination, because we have to believe everything we see, because, on our reptilian brain, if we don't remember something for later, it could kill us.
Right.
So I get that. But then you throw, the huge mammalian brain over that has a beautifully wild imagination, that has a tendency to confabulate, that has a tendency to pull this, that, or the other and conglomerate them into a single source. What happens ever? And also throw on top of that the fact that if I were to start now, I could never describe an eighth of what's happening in this room or in this second.
Yeah.
So how am I going to go up and ask someone like, hey, what did you just witness? Like, what was reality to you in this specific moment? And I don't want to hear any theories.
Right.
So they got to double down on what they know. I fucking saw that shit, goddammit. And then you show them the video and they go, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Really? Is that what happened? Have you ever seen the video of the where you watch closely and you count how many times the basketball is passed between like 6 people? Have you seen that video? Right,
and yeah. And like depending on the one that we're referring to, there's like a guy in the monkey suit who walks in the background or something.
Did that trick you the first time you saw it?
No, I saw the dude right away.
Oh, okay. See, it totally got me, and I've been chasing the dragon ever since. I was so jazzed by that. I want to find more videos that fuck with me like that, and then go, whoa, dude, I didn't even see that. So yeah, I didn't see the monkey guy the first time. Blew my mind.
That is a wild cognitive experiment that really exploits a human byproduct that I think that it just sort of popped. We are so interested in the subject that we forget the importance of the context. Like if I were to describe to you what I am doing, I would have to describe to you where I am and how I'm interacting in that space.
Gotcha.
But like those videos take advantage of that because you're caught up in the subject. They say, watch this video. And you go, well, there's something moving in the video. That's the subject. Context, drop out.
Yeah.
And then the monkey runs by.
He comes in and he waves.
Yeah,
and
he
walks
waves
off
and-
like that.
Yeah.
Is insane, man.
And the thing that really should blow your fucking mind is the fact that that's your brain every day. Imagine what you're missing.
Yeah.
IRL.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And that's where all these conspiracies come from, I feel, is like when we're not looking, something happens and we've got to fill in that blank.
Sure.
Why didn't I see that monkey? Well, it wasn't there. Was there ever a monkey? Is that even a monkey?
Are monkeys real?
Is this even a video? Yeah. You say, what are birds?
Well, that's an evolutionary trait, right? Our brain's designed to fill in the details.
Yeah. And I think it's just, the imagination loves to fill in gaps.
Right.
And it's only because we're so married to content when the context is just as important.
Yeah.
And that's where these conspiracies often pop, is like in context, the content is the Twin Towers came down, JFK was shot, the moon, etc.
Right.
In the context of it, everyone's just buying it because you're seeing it real time.
Right.
As the context changes and it slips into the past and we go, okay, well, the hormones are down, adrenaline's not pumping, we're all sane, rational human beings again. Let's take another look at the past and see if we can't rework it into a more pleasant narrative.
Yeah, you mentioned JFK just now, and it's the last one that I can really touch on because it's one that I buy into, that JFK, there was a conspiracy to kill JFK. Although I'm really a weak conspiracy theorist because I'll just find one thing, I'll be like, that's enough. I don't know why or who.
You're like a one-issue voter.
Yeah, exactly. Well, pretty much. If it makes sense to me, off the top, okay, I'm for it. But I never argue any of these. I don't know enough to say, God damn it, the Van Allen belts or too much radiation stuff. It makes sense to me, but I can't. I'm no scientist, so I can't use that argument.
Here's what I'm going to ask you though.
What?
Because if you say, I'm not a scientist and I can't explain X, Y, or Z, why do you in particular, and why do we as a society, when we do this, hold on to that nugget as truth, but we say, I don't know anything about the rest?
Okay,
well, that's what I'm
saying. I'm weak. I'm a weak conspiracy theorist. I can't argue it, and I won't argue any of it. Yeah,
I'm just getting it. Why do you think we do that? I don't know. You. Everyone does it. Why do you think that is the case? If you had to look at it,
it's possible. I don't trust government. And so maybe I want a few things to hold on to say, this is why I don't trust him. Possibly. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable. I feel like I could sleep better at night, which sounds weird, but I could sleep better at night knowing that somebody's, planned to take down the Twin Towers or something, or that they're...
That's an honest answer, because what we're looking for is something we think we know is truth. And when we land on that nugget that makes us feel good, it fits like a puzzle piece in that back of the head meme.
Right.
And we go, oh, thank God, I can go to sleep because I have met the stipulations for reality today.
Right. Okay. Do you want to know my JFK stipulation then? Okay. Bush says he doesn't remember where he was the day the president was shot, and he was in Dallas. That is fucking ridiculous. That is the one thing where I just said, nope, that's bullshit, dude. How could he not remember where he was? Everybody knows where they were when Kennedy was shot. He was fucking the head of the FBI or the CIA or something, and he doesn't remember he was in Dallas?
So we're talking Bush Sr.
Yes.
Okay. Because at first I needed that clarification.
Okay, yeah.
Because if it was Bush Jr., I would have been like, he was plastered, bro. He doesn't remember. But Bush Sr., that's a different story. But he was also like a dickhead too. Like I don't think that even at the mere mention of the words, not even the words, I should say the letters, the FBI, CIA,
JFK.
it's automatically going to throw up suspicion because they cannot confirm or deny anything. But that's the same policy at a Best Buy when they can't tell you if they've got Wii's in the back.
Okay, I see. Well, I don't buy it. I don't buy it to be able to say he doesn't know where he was or what he was doing when Kennedy was shot. It's just the worst possible lie, and maybe it's because he's a buffoon, and they're back at the head office at the CIA going, "No, you jackass, don't say that."
Well, here's my question to these types of things. Whenever,
yeah,
like the weak answer that implies misdoing. We are going to say, okay, we grant them the intelligence, the wherewithal, the skill to perpetrate it utterly, except for when expressly asked, that's when they fumble the ball?
Yeah.
Hey, if you want it, I'll take it. Like it just seems like this is where this conspiracy, when I push on it, that's where the weak spot is.
I got you. That's all it takes for me on the JFK. I mean, there's other things like the fellow that did the autopsy had never done an autopsy before involving a bullet wound, and he didn't even autopsy the bullet wounds to figure out like the trajectory. If that's, shit's all true, why are we putting him in that position? And why is that acceptable? He, allegedly missed the throat wound. Like, okay, hell of an autopsy if you missed a throat wound, buddy. So it all seems so fishy.
Well, let me ask you this. So obviously there was a conspiracy to kill the president because the president was killed and it was not a spur of the moment event.
Right. Okay. So I guess that's needs to be addressed. You're right.
Yeah. That's not even everybody, like, he was killed. I don't care what flavor you choose. Here's the thing. What were the ramifications of your specific version of this? Like, Kennedy needed to be killed because of X. What is that?
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I said I'm weak. I don't even know about like what was going on with Cuba or why people would have wanted him dead. Why? Because
that's the thing I assumed that the flavor was everybody was getting at. Because like the fact that he was killed is unassailable. The fact that there was a conspiracy, undeniable. I always thought that the cookie dough in this ice cream was the reason why.
Well, right? Like I said, it's just for me that the government knows more than they're letting on to, and that characters in government could have had a hand in it, and we'll never know that. And when Bush says he doesn't know where he was when the president was shot, that says to me that he knows a hell of a lot more, because you can't not know where you were. So
this just reads to me as like every random true crime I've ever heard. Like, take out the titles and basically every murder is all the same. It's like somebody wanted to benefit because of XYZ. And this is no different. Like the dude who kills his wife for the insurance money is no different than whoever killed Kennedy, because it wasn't like anything really blew apart. It wasn't like, and that's why I think this conspiracy theory needs to have those legs of it was done for blah, because like, you can say, well, if Kennedy wasn't killed, we'd be here now. Where is that?
Right. Well, see, for me, I don't know. JFK, it's my weakest one, and I'll openly admit it. But when I hear that about Bush, I buy into the fact that the government was involved or knows something we don't know. That the official story doesn't hold up. Yeah,
anybody who wants to believe whatever, it's fine. It's just when If I'm going to start poking around the produce aisle, if you will, I'm going to have to pick a couple of these up and give them a nice squeeze and a sniff. And so these are the questions I'm going to have as an outsider. And I wonder why, or I guess it's because I don't talk to many conspiracy theory people, because like I feel like they would probably have answers to these questions more or less, but we're sort of dabblers.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just dabbler. I sit on the fence and I look at both sides and I go, oh, that looks interesting.
Like, I like the logical progression, if it is there, is interesting, because it is that beautiful phantom board and nail if then logic, which is fun. I think that's the whole point of this. Let's say boil away everything, all the artifice, and you were able to give somebody like that magic sodium pentothal truth serum that actually worked and that they would tell the truth as they knew it, I think people would just say, because it's fucking fun. Like they got the leather strap on their head and they're biting a thing and they're kicking at the chair and we stab them with it. And you go, why do you believe this? You go, because it's fun, goddammit. I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, some of those guys are just ADHD and they need to settle down, though, because it's fun.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not that fun, dude. You're just trying to...
Right. Well, then that's when fun is often attached to competitive, and that's where we are. It's like when you talk about conspiracy theories, it's competition for reality.
Yeah.
You're saying, no, the reality we live in isn't the way you think it is, but here's the thing. It's unassailable. We're looking at it together. Yeah. We're interacting. We can talk to each other using the same language. Our cultural touchstones are the same. And if you're going to want me to believe that all of it is artifice, which I will grant you, I'm going to need a reason to dismantle it.
Yeah.
More than just like, it's fun.
Well, it is a lot of fun for me. Like the flat earth we discussed. It's really hard to buy into flat earth, but I love the arguments and I dig it. And the thing that, not only ticks me off, but kind of steers me towards conspiracy theories is I hate when people are vehemently against questioning. It's like, why can't we question 9/11? And I was like that originally. Like I said, when we started, when people first started questioning it, I was really pissed off that people were doing that because, you're taking attention away from the fact that somebody did this and we need to, get revenge or we need to make sure this never happens again or whatever. And I hate that. I hate when people are like flat earther jagoffs or whatever, or these guys are a bunch of dipshits, or people who question 9/11 are, idiots and stuff. It's like, why can't we question stuff? And why is that something that we need to fight against? People questioning like the election fraud with Trump and stuff. I was fucking pissed when they, said, "Oh, he's dangerous. Let's take him off Twitter." Like, what? If he's dangerous and he's a nutcase, the last thing we want to do is to put him away where we can't hear what he's saying. No, let him be on Twitter. Who the fuck, are we to stop people from being crazy publicly? We want to see that shit. So, I mean, I think it's okay to question voter fraud and stuff. And when it's just like, you're fucking a bunch of idiots. Let's, you're not allowed to question it. It's like, well, that sucks. I'm not a fan of that.
There's a concept here that you're touching upon, and it is essentially if you want to kill something, you have to let it run the exact length of its leash. You have to let it run out because the harder you fight something, the longer life it has. Like if we all just took our own medicine, let's say, 'cause we're all looking at something horrifying and going, can you believe this? I can't believe this is happening. Why are we all stopping to like make mention and take notice? Like, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
It's our nature. And I think fighting, so that's what I'm going to sort of jump at here, is those people who are against questioning are Team A, and the people who question are in the middle, and the people who are already on board with all the conspiracy theories are, the other team.
Right.
And without those three, we don't have any. That's the thing. But here's the thing. If you are even mildly polarized one way or another, you're going to meet your equivalent pushback, because that's how the universe works.
Right.
The harder you push your conspiracy theory at a party, the more resistance you're going to get, simply because that's what happens. The more polarized you are, the more you repulse or attract.
Sure.
And by and large, depending on how crazy your theory is, you're going to repulse more than attract. That's why cults are so goddamn small. Like, these ideas and these cult leaders or whatever are polarizing. And that is a good and a bad thing by its very nature. They are not neutral. They are polarized. They are wildly positive or wildly negative, and so they are going to attract like and repulse dislike.
Right.
And that's why when you stick a magnet in sand, it comes up with a little bit.
Yeah.
because there's part of it that is polarized to that magnet. Now, what we've done is like identified with these magnets, societally, and they're, growing and shrinking. And that's part of it, is the bigger one gets, the bigger the other gets, to make it proportionate. And that's what people are losing sight of. They say, well, everybody I talk to is so up in arms. And yeah, probably, because you might be too.
Yeah.
Because you're, if you're up in arms, like attracts like. You're a polarizing figure. I attracted assholes like honey to flies. I didn't attract assholes. Don't usually like honey. Flies I attracted like honey with assholes. You get the idea.
I get the idea.
And that's what happens too. Is like cult leaders. If you are charismatic enough and you can polarize yourself the right way to the right people, bingo. And that's why these ideas persist.
Yeah.
They're polarizing. They either turn you on and you're juiced, or they turn you off and you go, pfft.
Right.
But the fact that some people get juiced,
yeah,
electricity needs to move through that copper wire. And as long as it turns on somebody's bulb, pow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that could be said about so much that,
well, it's everything.
Yeah. I mean, the most offensive stuff will still attract people.
Yeah. And that's part of it too. Humans are so fucking hilarious that we have people who will join fandoms ironically, who will believe conspiracy theories ironically. And
Right.
Unlike you with your Building 7, like the muddier of the water. Yeah. You're one of those people who likes to come over to a nice, clean conspiracy pool and give a little kick every now and again. But that's what we need, is agitators to make sure that these things stay.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't have someone because it's easy to disregard the crazy relative, right? Because you see them every Thanksgiving. You go, yeah, Uncle Dan, I know fucking JFK was a reptilian or whatever your fucking flavor of the shit is. And so those people are batteries in wood. Their family is wood and not receiving that shit.
Yeah.
But once they break out of the family, you get a little charisma, juice a little buddy, and that's what you do. Yeah. You're a live wire rolling around town with all this shit, and you go, and the polarized people, they pop.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Which is fun. That's what we're here.
I've never thought of it that way, but I like it. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Hey, there's spaces out there for everybody. It's not like a superpower. I don't have clairvoyance just to point out people's I don't even want to say niches, because they're not niches, they're passions.
Yeah.
Everybody has a passion. And to deny that or to say it's anything other than it is, I think is crazy. So that's why I think everybody who wants to fly that conspiracy flag, fucking do it.
Sure.
Like, it's, obviously, here's the thing. No matter how many laws we pass, things still happen that are bad. So I can't say carte blanche, like go and, the reptilian thing and like do your part for your country, because you're a fucking nut job. If you're going to get polarized, swing back to the middle every once in a while is all I'm getting at.
Yeah. I love the reptilian thing, man. Every time you say it, it just, I envision like footage of Cardi B's eye turning reptilian or something. I love that stuff.
And
man.
it's always different too, because sometimes they're like snakes, or sometimes they'll show dinosaur heads or lizard, like
right.
Modern everyday, like a fence lizard will be running in politics or whatever.
I don't know how much of that you've seen, but what the fuck with people that lick their lips like 30 times a second? That just blows my mind. Those footages, I go, yeah, that guy's a reptile, dude, because nobody does that, man.
If you're in true crime, you see it all the time. Like, it is a stress response like you would not believe. I've seen acres and acres of
tongue flickers,
interrogation footage of people, and Jesus H. Christ, that is one of the tells. Like, if they pull their arms in tight so it feels like they're trying to pop their head off their body from the pressure, and their lips are dry as fuck, and they're always like, blah, 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 blah. Like, it is wild. Yeah,
you see a lot of it on To Catch a Predator. A lot of lipping in front of Chris Hansen.
Because because your mouth is dry, you're scared as shit, and and here's the thing too. The part of your brain that is kicking in that it's maybe going to give credence to this reptilian theory is your reptile brain. It's like the oldest part of your brain that is there for self-preservation. So it's like, oh, fuck, idiot. Remember to breathe. Your mouth's getting dry. Lick your shit. And so you're just sitting there in front of Chris Hansen going, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Doing that weird reptile, like.
Yeah. Lauren Armstrong's my favorite. His dry mouth is just looks so deserty, pasty. It's like, dude, surprised he could even speak.
And we've all, that's the thing too. We've all been in situations like that where.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
You know, everybody's been a child. So you've been there. Someone says, hey, stop that shit. And you go, boom, spotlight on you. And your mouth dries out like that. Ooh.
Yeah. Yep.
Wild. Oh, man. Well, tell you what, man, it has been a wild time. We talked about way more and way less than I thought we would talk about.
Well, that's, next time, right?
No, yeah.
There's always a reason to come back. And I know that when we spoke earlier, you'd said that there was stuff beyond conspiracy that you wanted to discuss. And if we didn't get to it, that just means we can talk next time.
Here's
first time.
The fourth first time. Here's the thing. I, for a brief moment, was worried. I go, oh, my God. As usual, I did no research. I did no prep work because that's my style. But sometimes I build myself up in my head and I go, oh my God, you should have done this. Because there are guests and there are people who come on the show that I really got to tap dance around. And for that, it's not their fault because they don't have a microphone in front of their face all the time. So chemistry is king to me. And that's one thing I never have to sweat with you. Like,
oh, that's awesome, brother.
We do not...
Nice.
I never have to worry about like, oh God, what if a 12-second stint of silence happens? No.
No, you're an excellent host too, man. I really enjoy it. And so I've never really done this sort of thing previously. So you've
hey, well, you took
what did they say on TCAP? I'm honored to be considered a candidate for your first.
Candidate for your first, yeah. Hey, well, you took to it like a salmon to water. I'll tell you that.
Hey, fantastic, brother.
But for real, like fucking chemistry is incredibly difficult to find. You know this.
Yeah, I get it.
Anyway, like I was saying, we're wrapping it up. So let's do some staff recommendations. I feel like obviously the house recommendation will be Baked Salmon's channel on YouTube. All the To Catch a Predator content and all the stuff that you do is great. Me and the wife always there for it.
Yes.
Thank you. So if it's my turn to say who I would recommend.
Totally.
Well, first of all, my channel. No, I want to say that although my channel is heavily To Catch a Predator, this weekend I'll be showing the footage from the billionaire mansion.
Yeah.
Broke into more or less.
That's awesome.
I went uninvited and walked around this billionaire's estate. So anybody want to check that out? That's going to be on my channel after this weekend, and excited about that. But my recommendation is probably going to be J Fu Films, and hopefully I didn't recommend him the last time. I don't believe I did, but J Fu Films, spelled exactly like you would guess, letter J F U Films. The guy's using some sort of, I can't think of the name of the animation software he's using, but he's recreating TCAP episodes with this really bizarre psychedelic animation.
Yeah, those are a trip and a half. Oh my God.
Yeah. The way I understand the software works, you create one scene, you let the software try and create the others, but it'll start getting out of hand, getting off track, and then you got to recreate the next scene and bring it back into line or whatever. But it's really weird stuff.
Yeah, it's a trip. Yeah,
so I recommend his stuff.
Yeah, that stuff is really, when you showed it on your stream, I was like, oh my God, this is the most incredible. Like, it's so, this feels douchey to say, but it does feel very avant-garde. Like, we're seeing a lot of stuff that has never been done before and would never have been thought of.
Right.
But I also want to say this. You are moving through content, and I, for the most part, am bucked by that. But here's the thing. It's not so much thematic that I'm into. It's the personality, right? You have sort of turned me around on you sneaking into places. It still stresses me out, but your character, your charisma, that's the thing. The content is going to be good no matter what. Even if it is stress-inducing, I'll watch it because cool, it's solid. And I came for the TCAP, but I stayed for all of the bone finding and the mansion domineering and all of that shit too.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Watching
fantastic.
you go through the studio, the
film studio.
Yeah. When you climb that fence, I was like, oh my God, there's a person right there.
Yeah. Did that make your stomach sink? It made mine sink. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I think I'm busted. But all I did was just hold up my badge and say security in English
Yeah,
to a
security.
Japanese guy walking
Like-
by, and I guess he bought it.
I don't like crossing the street, not on a crosswalk. Like, like this is illegal.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm glad you mentioned the bone finding. How'd you feel about that one? I don't think I got your 2 cents on that one yet. I found what turned out to be a femur bone from a juvenile livestock animal, but looked human to me. So
Yeah,
brought
I
to the
thought it
police
was
station.
this is. It kind of felt like the beginning of a number of true crime things because there are so many times where somebody finds something, and the police are like, "Man."
Yeah.
And so it was weird to see what does and does not get people's attention because you say, well, I found a bone. I feel like that would get somebody's attention. But the fact that time after time after time, everybody's like, yeah, like, I'm going to have to ask my manager is essentially the tone you were getting.
Right.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Hey, yeah, that does look interesting. You should probably bring that back to the place that's nearest where you found it. It's like,
Yeah, oh man, that's a cool thing for your scrapbook. Anyway, take care, bro. Like everyone just had this fucking I don't give a shit attitude.
yeah. And then they finally got the 2 forensics guys to take us to the location where I found it. And I thought it was all interesting. I mean, it was they. I know that, like you see that when the forensics guy first shows up and he's just scoffing, he's like, "What is this? Is this even a bone?" Like, he's asking his buddy that walks in, "Is this coral? What is this?" And they're both laughing. And I edited it, so there's a lot of stuff that they're saying you don't see, but more or less they're just questioning it the whole time. But they're finally obligated to follow up with it. Bring me to where I found it. Look around, see if there's other stuff there because they did not know, even with their bone book, whether it was human or not. And I knew when I found it, it's probably animal, but let's see what happens. I mean, I feel obligated to at least bring it to the police. I thought I was going to bring it to the first place, and they would say, "Okay, thanks. What's your name and address? We'll look into it." And that didn't happen. So,
but as you can't plant, and you bit off as much as you could chew, and it turns out you bit into a sugar daddy when you thought you were getting a nice Milky Way.
That's right. That's pretty good. Yeah.
You latched onto that shit, and you were like, "Oh fuck, now I'm committed."
Yep. Yeah, and it took me from the middle of the day to late at night is how long that journey took. So.
What a wild experience. I did love the video. I love the everything about it. I think is fun. I think anytime anybody takes a GoPro on their helmet, I am like an infant looking at a mobile. Like I want to clap my hands and laugh.
Nice, dude. Very cool. Well, that's what the mansion video is going to be. It's going to be very similar,
radical
in the way it's filmed and stuff. So
Awesome.
I feel like that'll be less stress-inducing because you're not sneaking into like an active facility or like there's not going to be staff. Like
There's no security.
Yeah, I that makes me a little more.
Yeah, it's actual urban exploring. Whereas the other stuff I do is more like occupied urban exploring, where I'm having to evade security and shit like that.
It's written in a book somewhere that you can't do it, and it's whatever.
Well, thanks for letting me talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, hey man, I loved it. Krista, what do you want to recommend?
Since we've been doing like small businesses the last couple episodes, I'm gonna recommend a small business. It's on Instagram. They're called Mr. Meerkat's Market. They do a lot of like wire wrap jewelry, and I just got a Marcasite pendant from him. It's a husband and wife small business, and they sell all these jewelry pieces and stuff like that, and I'll be meeting them in a few weeks at my next market. So
we can learn their secrets and take them down from the inside.
Yeah, dude, I just plugged in their name, and that stuff's detailed AF, man.
He's
really
the one that does
impressed.
all the wire wrapping of the pendants, and he does such a good job. It's crazy.
Our plan is to infiltrate them, breed with their women, and before long, we'll be part of that society.
Right, Genghis Khan. Go
Yeah,
full Genghis on him.
It'll be more like Neanderthal slipping into the human genome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great stuff. Great recommendation, Krista. I'm seeing it now.
I feel like it's never a bad time to experience independent art because after we do the show, I'm going to show you this crazy shit I have on the wall over here because it is independent art that was made locally that I found at a antique store in a boom bust town that used to have a prostitute house right across the street, and over from that was the YMCA where the miners would sleep 3 to a room and bring prostitutes back.
Yep.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Oh, that sounds awesome. We'll have to go there one day.
Now it's just an antique store, so. But you can still smell a little bit of the syphilis in the air. It's in the wood.
Nice.
Anyway, guys, so yeah, check out Big Salmon stuff. We're on Twitter, and you can check out the links associated to us everywhere. And I guess that's it. So until next time, I'm Dave.
I'm Krista.
I'm Baked Salmon.
Say we'll catch you on the next one, guys.
Peace.
Or they try to.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.
I have Audacity up and it's recording.
Me too.
Sometimes I'll leave it recording for days if I need to zhuzh the place up.
You had to keep that in.
Yeah, well, there's not going to be a reference to me saying it now because I just hit record.
Oh well. Well, it is recording though. It is recording. What's on Voorhees' head back there? I can't tell. Looks like
this one.
Yeah.
It's a flamingo hat. It's a
flamingo hat. Oh, okay. There we go. Christmas flamingo hat. Nice. Well, nothing says Christmas like flamingos.
Yeah, like Halloween 10. Not Halloween. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th 10. Jason X. You didn't call it Friday the 13th? That's why I messed it up. It's Jason X because he goes to space. It's X.
Jason X in space. Snakes on a plane. Jason in space. Why not?
Everybody went to space. But hey, okay, let's before we get too far off the track, let's do my counting exercise.
Hey, not everybody went to space. Let's talk about the moonlight. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's do my counting exercise so I can snap these together.
Okay, cool.
1,
2,
3,
4.
Okay. Now I have at least a point to look for. I can't promise that we're going to talk exclusively about conspiracies because the more I thought about it, the more I was like, there's a lot more stuff I would probably dip into given the chance with you. So we'll start with
that's cool. Yeah.
So we'll play it by ear. But I was
well, and it's interesting because I think it's interesting. I love conspiracies. I think you do too. I think I probably buy into some more than you do. It seems like that's the sense that I get. But I think you also enjoy them for the same reason I do, in that it's just an amazing look at human nature and stuff when you see what people will buy into and what people will believe. Yeah, so I love all of it, but I only subscribe, I guess, to 3 of them specifically, and for very few reasons. I don't, like if you're familiar with enough of these conspiracy theories, there's a ton of ideas that go into them, and I just pick and choose 1 or 2 pieces that's enough for me. All I need to know is that.
Okay, well, hold on. We haven't even started the show yet, so let me start the show, and then we'll crack into it.